Bible is not primarily a book of rules. The Bible is not a magic lamp that'll grant your wishes. The Bible is primarily a story. Many of you learn many of the little stories that are in the Bible, maybe in Sunday school or throughout your life in devotions. But all those little stories come together to form one big story. And it takes every story in the Bible to tell that big story. And what's amazing about this story is that it's not just a story, but it's real. It's true. It really happened. And this story that begins before time and ends after time includes you. This story is about a prince who goes out to find his lost treasure. And you are the lost treasure. Over the next weeks, we're going to explore this story from beginning to end. But we must begin, as all stories must, at the beginning. Chapter 1. Longing for something better. In the beginning, nothing. No light. No darkness, no time, no space, no flamingos, no stock options, no father saying, because I said so. Nothing except God. And then God created the heavens and the earth. And God said, let there be light. And there was light, glorious light. And God looked at the light and He said, it is good. Day 2. God looks at this earth He has created and He separates the waters. So there's waters below and there's waters above. And God looks at it and says, and that's sky. And God looked at the sky He created and it was good. Day 3. God raises up the mountains from their slumber below the oceans. And now there's dry land, high mountain peaks, and pleasant valleys, and swamps, and isthmuses, and peninsulas, and all of that. And then God covers the land with vegetation. So now there's seaweed, and moss, and redwoods, and dandelions, and tulips, and strawberries. Every kind of plant. And God looks at it all and He says, it is good. Day 4. God gathers together all the light into the sun, and it shines during the day. And then God puts the moon in the night to light the night sky, and He puffs up His chest. And He blows up the stars, and the nebulas, and the other planets. And it is good. Day 5. God fills the skies with flying creatures, dragonflies and pterodactyls and falcons and crows. And then He scatters the ocean deeps full of living, swimming creatures, blue whales and crabs and dolphins and bass and salmon. And God looks at it all, and it is good. Day 6. God creates land creatures. Now there's rhinoceros and cows and monkeys and mice and ants and grasshoppers. And God looks at it all and He says, it is good. And then God pauses and He speaks. Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. God stops what He's doing and He speaks to Himself. The Holy Trinity Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they speak to each other and they say, now we're going to stop it. We're going to make something special. This special thing will have our image on it. We'll put our handprint on their soul. Nothing else is like this. Nothing else in all creation will be like this. It'll be in our image. Their soul will totally line up with us so that their reason will match our reason. So their emotions match our emotions. So that their will matches our will. That's what the image of God is. Being totally lined up with God. Can you imagine being totally lined up with the wisdom that created the stars? And God fashions and He sculpts the first man, Adam. And He fashions and sculpts the first woman, Eve. And God bursts into poetry. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created him. Male and female, He created them. God places the majesty of the stars in the sky. No poetry. He constructs the power of the Himalayas. No poetry. He knits together the DNA of the blue whale. No poetry. But God creates humans. And suddenly, He bursts with poetry. Look at what I have made. This is my masterpiece. This is the crown of creation. Humans. And I will burst into poetry over them. Male and female, He created them. Man and woman, the first marriage. And can you imagine being in a marriage where there's no arguing because you're totally in line with your spouse? And not just no arguing because you're scared of what's going to happen if you bring something up, but because you're actually totally in line with them. A marriage where the man, 100% of the time, always unconditionally loves his bride. And a marriage where the woman 100% unconditionally respects her husband. Can you imagine that? And here were the first people, and that's what it was. And then God gives them a job to do. Go, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and all the animals of the dry land. Can you imagine that adventure? To go out and explore creation. From the Andromeda Galaxy all the way to the molecular makeup of water. To explore all of that with God's blessing and to say, I want to know more about this world. That's the adventure that God set out for them. And God looks at all He had made and He said, it is good. Actually, no, He doesn't. He doesn't say that on the last day. Day 1, God creates light and God says, this is good. Day 4, God puts all the wonders in the sky and God says, it's good. Day 5, God creates the flamingo and God says, it is good. And on day 6, when God created humans, God looked at all He had made and then He says, it is very good. You see that sometimes, don't you? And that story has continued. We're still living this story. And you get little hints of it sometimes. Maybe you're sitting on a boat. And the sun rises over the trees. And your heart is struck by that beauty. And you gasp in wonder. And you say, this is good. Maybe it comes the first time you see your child smile. And you know, this is good. And at the very second you say that, your heart breaks because you know it doesn't stay. Your heart breaks because you know, as good as this is, it doesn't stay. That there's something broken in this world. That it's not the way it is supposed to be. Back then, God said it is all very good, and now we look around and we say, no, it's not. What happened? happen, we have to go to chapter 2. And that's next week. But for today, we do want to recognize that we're not in chapter 1 anymore. And you don't have to go very far to figure that out. All you have to do is look in a mirror. God created humans to live together, to love and respect one another, 100%, totally selflessly. Look in the mirror. I don't do that. I love conditionally. You hurt me enough, I'm done with you. Walk away. Get away from me. That's not unconditional. That is conditional love. I mean, just look at us. How many of us have had broken relationships? Even marriages. You don't have to go very far to realize that we're broken. Just look in the mirror. God is creation. And it was good, and He told us to take care of it. And what do we do? Oh, wow, look at the pollution, huh? Every week, I gasp and wonder how much garbage my family produces. We really take good care of creation? Well, some people do. Some people actually fall off the boat the other way. They start worshiping creation. They're saying things like, well, the humans ruined everything, so now we're just going to, if we just get rid of the humans, then everything will be fine. That's going too far the other way. God gave us creation for our good, not to be slaves to it, but to take care of it. You don't have to go very far to realize that we're broken. Just look in the mirror. You know, God gave you your body. Sometimes we get the feeling that our souls are sort of trapped in these prisons, like prisons. No. God made your body and your soul, and He knit them together in the most intimate ways. He gave us both. And yet so often, what do we do to our bodies? The Bible is a story. I told you before, the story is of a prince who goes out in search of his lost treasure. You are the treasure. And the prince is Jesus. He stepped in from outside of creation and became one of us. But He wasn't broken. His reason totally 100% lined up with God the Father. His emotions 100% lined up with God the Father. His will 100% lined up with God the Father. And that showed in what He did. He respected and loved everyone without condition. They didn't have to earn His love in any way. 100% He took care of the world around Him without becoming a slave to it. You heard here a couple of weeks ago how Jesus did this miracle where there was leftover food afterwards. And Jesus doesn't say, let it mold. But He says, take care of it. Make sure it gets to people who are hungry. 100% of the time, He took care of His body the way it was meant to be taken care of. He wasn't broken the way we are because He stepped in from outside of creation and became one of us. And then He became broken for us. Body and soul were tortured. As He went up to that cross. A nail sliding through artery and muscle. And all of our brokenness landed on Him. Everything that's gone wrong since chapter 1 and has happened since and will happen landed right on Him. He traded spots with us. He took all your brokenness and gave you His perfect record so that when God looks at you, you now have Jesus' record. When God looks at you, He sees you like you're still living in chapter 1. Back when everything was very good. Our solution had to come from outside of creation because we couldn't do it. And we get to see how the solution is presented throughout the whole rest of the book. But that's going to come in the next few weeks, in the next chapters. For today, for chapter 1, I want you to actually go out and rejoice in creation. Thank God for the good of the trees and the animals. But as you do that, remember the greater gift. because our story isn't done. On the day the last chapter begins, God will return, and He's going to take your body, and He's going to make it act like it should have in chapter 1. He's going to purify it so that all those effects of sin, all the brokenness is gone. And then He's going to take your soul. He's going to fix it so it's not broken anymore either. But so that your reason and your emotions and your will all line up with everything God has declared. And He's going to take your soul and your body, He's going to put it back together. And it won't be just you, but He will take all of creation and repair it, so the stars will sing for joy at their Creator, and the lion will lie down with the lamb. This week, remember chapter 1, and rejoice in creation, but even more, rejoice that God stepped into history to restore you, so that in the last chapter, you may enjoy the